Welcome to Brush and Beyond, where we see the world through an artist's eyes and learn to express our own worlds. Dali's crazy surrealism. Have you ever heard the saying, "What you think about during the day appears in your dreams at night"? Dreaming is a very normal human phenomenon during sleep. Did you have a dream last night? And what is the most memorable dream you had? Today, we are going to meet an incredible artist. He's one of my favorite artists, and he loves finding inspiration from dreams and combining dream scenes with real-life objects in paintings. Salvador Dali, born in 1904, was a famous Spanish surrealist master of the 20th century. Together with Picasso and Matisse, he is considered one of the three most influential artists of the 20th century. He often used dreams and hallucinations as inspiration for his art. Through techniques like exaggeration, distortion, and unusual combinations, Dali broke our logic and natural rules, then blending dreamlike scenes with real-life objects in his art. What is Surrealism? Surrealism was an art movement that emerged in Europe during the 1920s and 1930s, in which artists expressed their thoughts and emotions by creating strange, dreamy, and absurd images. Surrealist painters tried to go beyond reason and tradition, exploring the inner world and dreams by combining reality with fantasy. Dali is one of the most important representatives of the Surrealist art movement, and his art continues to influence contemporary art today. Artists in the Surrealist movement include Max Ernst, René Magritte, and Vladimir Kush. Salvador Dali was born in Spain. He was a surrealist artist with an incredibly rich imagination and creativity, and is recognized as one of the greatest artists of the 20th century. His father was a lawyer who also loved art. Through his father's artist's friends, Dali grew up in a good environment. He showed artistic talent from an early age, and his parents strongly supported his studies in art. At 17, Dali entered the Royal Academy of Fine Arts of San Fernando in Madrid, where he studied painting and sculpture and mastered classical painting techniques, building a strong foundation for his future work. Here are some examples of the different artistic periods Dali went through. It's really hard to divide Dali's career into clear periods because he often worked on different styles at the same time. We can see a progression from very realistic portraits and landscape paintings to extremely creative and surrealist dreamlike paintings. How did Dali record his dreams? Everyone's dreams are different, and dreams are particularly hard to remember. However, when we are suddenly awakened from a dream unexpectedly, we can often remember it vividly. Dali knew this, and he used it to develop a special method to capture his dreams. He would sit in a chair holding a spoon above a metal plate. When he fell asleep, the spoon would drop onto the plate and wake him up immediately. He would then quickly record the dream images before he painted them. Why was Dali so famous? Dali was a very innovative surrealist artist with a unique aesthetic style. He constantly experimented with new artistic ideas and styles, and he was also skilled at self-promotion and turned himself into a living artist through unusual behaviors and art appearances, especially his famous mustache. Now let's take a look at one of his most famous pieces, The Persistence of Memory. We can take a look at some specific artistic features here. First, Dali uses exaggeration to change hard objects like a clock into soft ones. Second, he uses a realistic painting style. Even though the scene is strange, Dali painted everything carefully and detailed. The colors, shadows, and other details make the dreamlike objects almost look real, blending reality and absurdity. And finally, he uses an unusual combination. He puts clocks, ants, and a dead tree in the same scene, which makes the painting feel like a dream. Dali was inspired to create this when he saw a piece of soft cheese melting on a table one day. This gave him the idea to paint clocks that looked like they were melting. When we think about the meaning of this piece, we know that clocks remind us of time. But the melting of clocks show that time can feel strange in dreams. Sometimes it's slow, fast, or hard to understand. The ants may show Dali's worries or fears. In many of his paintings, Dali uses small insects like ants to create a mysterious and fearful feeling. Overall, this painting uses dreamlike ideas to help us think about how time and strange pictures in our mind can appear. On January 4th of 2025, I visited the Dali Museum in Paris, which was incredibly unique, and I got to see a lot of the behind the scenes of how he created replicas of his work, especially the statues. I had seen a lot of his paintings, but I never really gotten a close look at the statues. Here you can see that he has many sculptures that come from the persistence of memory, and melting clocks were a repeated motif in his art. This is swans reflecting elephants. What do you notice? What feelings does this painting give you? What is the double image? Dali uses the double image technique of the swans reflecting forms of the elephants. Dali carefully created this illusion by using trees. On the left side of the painting, he also makes his own appearance. He appears thoughtful and isolated, reflecting his feelings during the Surrealist movement. Here are some more examples of the double image technique from the Dali Museum in Paris. You can see that he often uses reflections and optical illusions. Let's take a look at the elephants. What do you see here? In this painting, we can see giant elephants walking across a desert. The elephants carry heavy objects on their backs, but their legs are extremely long and thin. This strange shape makes us feel like the painting comes from a magical and dreamlike world. The painting may make you feel surprised, curious, or amazed. The tall elephants can seem powerful, but also a little bit scary and mysterious. In many cultures, elephants are symbols of strength, wisdom, and power. Dali may have used tall elephants to show how something strong can also look delicate or fragile. Dali stretched the elephant's legs using exaggeration to make them look imaginative. However, he uses his realistic painting style to depict careful details, shadows, and lighting, which again blends our perception of reality and confusion. Finally, he uses an unusual combination, placing these strange elephants in a quiet desert landscape. In many cultures, elephants are symbols of strength, wisdom, and power. Dali may have used the tall elephants to show how something strong can look delicate and mysterious. This painting encourages us to use our imagination and think about the difference between reality and fantasy. Now let's take a look at the Temptation of St. Anthony. Again, Salvador Dali uses the skinny leg motif for powerful animals like horses and elephants. These strange animals carry treasures and beautiful objects on their backs, making the scene feel like a dream or fantasy world. The painting reminds us about being brave and staying strong when facing temptations or challenges, as we can see on the bottom left. Dali also uses religious motifs in a lot of his pieces, which you can see here. Now let's take a look at how Dali uses real-life optical illusions. What do you see in this artwork? What techniques did the artist use? Dali transformed an entire room into the face of famous Hollywood actress Mae West. The curtains became a hair, cabinets became the nose, and a sofa becomes the lips. This famous lip-shaped sofa is still widely known today. The work combines objects and facial features into a double image illusion, challenging viewers' perception of reality. Here are some more optical illusions used to create a face. Dali used these techniques in the Face Phantom and Fruit Platter and the Face of War. From the Dali Museum in Paris, he also had an exhibition of the Mae West lip sofa. We can see that the red lip sofa strongly references his famous painting about Mae West, and the gold chair with heel-shaped feet is a classic surrealist humor, turning furniture into a playful, almost living form. I also visited Le Maurice in Paris in January of 2025. There, Dali had a presidential apartment where he stayed regularly for decades in Paris, often a month every year, and the hotel embraces his surrealist legacy throughout their property. One of Dali's most famous surrealist artworks is the lobster telephone. Dali replaced the receiver of a telephone with a real-looking lobster, creating a surprising and funny combination of two completely unrelated objects. The artwork reflects Surrealism's interest in dreams, imagination, and the subconscious mind, encouraging viewers to think beyond ordinary reality. By transforming a familiar household object into something strange and unexpected, Dali changed people to see everyday life in a completely new way. He also used a technique of suspended weightless objects. You can see that in his painting of the sphere and the rose of meditation, and even in portraits of his wife. A fun fact about Dali is that he had a great impact in a lot of fun, simple things that we don't know about. For example, in the 1970s, the brand Chupa Chups wanted to give a stronger artistic and international image. The founder, Enrique Bernat, invited Dali to design a new logo for the company. According to the legend, Dali sketched the famous daisy-shaped logo right on a napkin during their meeting. He used bright yellow and red colors and suggested placing the logo on the very top of the wrapper so people could always clearly see the brand name. This bold and eye-catching design later became one of the most recognizable candy logos in the world. And today, Chupa Chups is the most popular lollipop brand around the world. The incredible story of Salvador Dali was much more than just painting. He was a highly creative artist whose talents extended across many fields. Outside of painting, he worked in sculpture, furniture design, advertising, film, and brand design, bringing his surrealist ideals into everyday life. We've only scratched the surface of Dali's works, so be sure to stay tuned for a second part to this amazing artist, where we'll learn so much more about the eras of his life and his career. Thank you so much for watching.